So there's two packages, but we're going to begin with this one first because this is non-anime stuff, but honestly, even though I say that and I'm mostly anime stuff, I think some of my more anticipated stuff are in here. First of all, this is just a battery to go with my cell phone. You know, in case I want to travel or I'm on a long airplane trip and I can't do it. So, obviously you can see here, Rick and Morty Season 2. This is the DVD version because, I guess I have the DVD version of the first season, and this allows me to put it in the place I really want to watch it, which is on the my private streaming server. I'm actually going to open these, especially since there's a Pombus owner's manual on the inside. I don't know, I'm a little curious. Season 2 was great. Obviously looking forward to Season 3? Yeah. Look at that. Interesting. Just briefly looking at it. So I guess the problem is the DVD's bumping into that. There we go, I got past it. And then there's Zootopia. I guess I'm not going to take that sticker off. And I've also talked about Zootopia highly, with a lot of praise, I guess. And I'm glad I have it and I can actually start showing some of my lazy family members instead of just mentioning stuff. And to be fair, they're not necessarily lazy. I'm just calling them that, I guess, kind of half-jokingly. DVD, Blu-ray, and inserts. Kind of hard to get them in there, but there we go. Yay. Now, let's get to the main item, which is this ridiculously huge box. Is that it? I only see plastic in there. Let's start going down the pile. First up we have Yona of the Dawn Part 1. Look at this. It's A and B. And since it's Funimation, it's audio dubbed. We always have to check. It is Funimation, right? Yeah. We always have to check because some Funimation has played around with some stuff. So when I keep seeing this out of the corner of my eye, I keep thinking I'm seeing a female version of Kenshin from Rurouni Kenshin. But obviously, you know, you take a look at the outfit and it's not anywhere near the same. It's less samurai, more priestess-ish, kind of. Maybe not even priestess. Maybe priest is a slightly more accurate description. So, this is kind of par for the course with Funimation discs. It's not too bad. I actually like that we get stuff released on Blu-ray and DVD anyways. But looks like this is Blu-ray 2 and that's DVD 1, so DVD 2, Blu-ray 1. Nice and straightforward. The fact that this is dubbed is good because basically it's not that there's anything here that I think looks bad, so much as I didn't have anything that stood out as something I would definitely gonna be the twin tail. And I guess I've seen images of her before, I think. So I am kind of curious. Another region's A and B release, English dubbed. But yeah, since Funimation actually has some English dubbed releases here, that means that if I really just want to put something on and casually watch it, I kind of have that option with this week's new releases. DVD 1, DVD 2, Blu-ray 1, Blu-ray 2. And it looks like the inside case is, or the inside cover, it's one big long art piece. Neat. This is Psychopaths the movie. Digital HD works with ultraviolet. Oh well, I'm not gonna work on that too hard. Another region A and B release with English dub, of course. It'd be kind of unusual for Funimation to stop dubbing series in the middle of it, but it's not completely unheard of. But usually for other reasons, I think. I don't know if Funimation has done it or not. See, this time I'm actually putting that aside so that we can just look at the DVD and the Blu-ray movie and characters. Looks like of this stuff here, we got Funimation now, and then we've got these four things, which look postcard-ish, but I can't help but wonder if they are a little thicker. I don't know. I'm not looking too closely. I'm trying to get through these because we've got a little pile here. Next up, we've got Suit GundaM ZZ, and yeah, there it is. We've also got the Blu-ray version. So, for Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, I've been only buying the Blu-ray version because I have the old DVD release. This one has not previously received a DVD release, and yeah. For those of you seeing it for the first time, the shadow of the Z is why it's double Z, I guess. Ow. Ow. The plastic's a little stronger than some of the others so far. I guess Sunrise is directly releasing these here in the States, huh? See, while I'm taking this, it looks like the Japanese, it says Japanese language on the back, English subtitles down there, which means that if the first series was dubbed, which isn't impossible considering it's an older release, I do believe that means this one is not. This is good to have, because this brings me towards more completion of Gundam sort of stuff. And I guess I also don't know if how this fits in with other Gundam stuff, because right, you have stuff divided up by universe essentially. Kind of. I mean, basically, whatever they're using to keep track of calendar time is how you can tell one Gundam from the other. So Gundam Wing is like after Colony. Well, is that what it was? No, I'm not sure. I don't remember. Well, I don't want to go too far away because you know, I'm going to do the stereotypical discard comparison, because it looks like the first discards are the same, then it's just a matter of what after that is matching. It looks like the second discards are the same, and I think this one is oh look, no, it's actually the fourth. Interesting. Let's also look at the back of this Blu-ray, see if, okay, it says it's region A only. It's notable. Instead of looking at this, I do believe there's this, another Gundam thing, After War Gundam X, which I have absolutely no idea what this is. Region 1, Japanese audio, English subtitles. Ouch. Basically, if I do that and it starts burning, then I'm going to be using the backup plan. This one I have no idea, yeah, what its relation to other Gundam related stuff. It says After War, so I can't help but think that it probably falls within the timeline of another Gundam series, but I don't know which ones. Or one. I don't think there was a Blu-ray version of this at the same time, so I think those 4 discs are it for this release. I'm not seeing anything immediately on the back about the time, so I'm just going to continue and try and figure out what all I have. Because we've got Lupin the Third Alcatraz connection, and I'm just making sure there isn't the Blu-ray version that I'm missing in the stack. Having trouble with grabbing it there. Maybe it's not as whatever as it normally is. Well, I'm getting in it. There's a lot of stickers on the top of them this time. I mean, it's because there's, well, yeah, it's because these aren't limited to primarily Funimation and Sentai releases. Seems to be more common. Great. As you can see, I lost a little part of it. Which means I'm going to take it off. Alright? Like that. Pretty straightforward DVD on the inside. This is Discotek continuing its release of Lupin the Third stuff, which is pretty good. Although there's a part of me hoping that maybe they can pick up Case Closed, because they did release the Lupin the Third Case Closed stuff. Shonen Hollywood Season 1. This is a Funimation release. Apparently DVD only? Actually, the back doesn't look... Ow. Damn it. The back doesn't look standard Funimation like the other stuff we've been looking at. Now, maybe that's because I've been mostly seeing DVD Blu-ray releases since forever ago from Funimation. Funimation seems to be one of the first anime companies to say, yeah, if we release a lot of stuff on Blu-ray, then we make extra money. So yeah, as you can see, this is why we always check is because this one's Japanese stereo only back here with English subtitles, which means this is one of those rare but still exist Funimation releases that are subtitled only, which would also explain why this one isn't Blu-ray and DVD released. I'm not sure what to make of it otherwise. It could be really good, could be, who knows. Next up we have Wake Up Girls, the movie, which, it being called the movie made me think that there could have been, this could be the sequel to something, except as far as I can tell, it's a standalone thing, which makes this one interesting to watch, although with me in movies, I guess I do have that tendency to not do that, because as you can see, it's region A only, subtitled only. So, yeah, that could slow it down depending on what I'm trying to do. I'm not sure if I've got much I'm trying to do this week, but the discs look the same. Of course, one says DVD and one says Blu-ray, but now, as you can probably guess, this is Fairy Tail Part 20. The release of Fairy Tail continues. This one's region A, this one's dubbed. Again, that's as expected. I'm so far behind on Fairy Tail now that it'll be a real project if I ever decide to catch up on it. Of course, same thing could be said of Pokemon and Bleach. It's just me, or are her boobs bigger than ever? I think this series does some sort of time jump, so maybe this is after a time jump of some sort, but I don't know. That's interesting. That's Fairy Tail Part 20. And last but not least, The Boy and the Beast. This is another ultraviolet release thingy from Funimation, of course. It couldn't have been somebody weird, because I definitely saw the advertisement, probably on One Piece, so that would explain. Region A, English dubbed, which makes sense, the advertisement was English dubbed. If you can't tell, it's definitely the same character design, and so it's another movie from the person who did Girl Left Through Time, Summer Wars, and Wolf Children. My understanding of the story, that was very borderline painful, is it does look interesting. It doesn't feel repetitive compared to other stuff. We're going to put this here so I can turn that over. We got The Boy and the Beast, DVD version, and Blu-ray version. Interesting, it's another version of this artwork. So, there we go. Getting this back into its case like this. It's this week's anime DVD collection update. So since it was my last week before I started the new job, I did get some good watching in. First of all, I watched Log Horizon 2 Collection 1, which would be the first 13 episodes, episodes 1 through 13 on 2 discs. It was pretty good. Again, I think it's not, I don't have much different to say than previous stuff. The pacing feels like it's slightly holding off a feeling of resolution to things as it goes, but it doesn't feel like it's badly paced. It's careful and thoughtful, I guess. This isn't to be confused with something that's definitely deliberately wasting your time, but rather there's just important things kind of going on, I guess, and well, it's pretty good. Now, all that said, I'm not sure. Yeah, the problem I keep talking about with Log Horizon isn't that there's anything necessarily wrong with it so much as there have been people who I think are overselling it. Like, they're mistaking their own enjoying of it more than other things as it being objectively better. It's a common human problem. Trying to think of things to say that wouldn't be spoilerish. Can't think of anything in particular, but yeah, so far I've been enjoying it. It's different from the first season just because the first season there was establishment that needed to happen, whereas this is the growth that continued from what the first season kind of started growing, I guess. Obviously, with my friend, we prioritized watching One Piece Season 8 Voyage 1, and I thought it was pretty good. I guess if we were to compare it to Log Horizon, it definitely feels like there's some delaying of things going on, but the padding is still pretty good. I think that's generally why a lot of people who really like One Piece like it. It's because even if One Piece is dragging itself, you can kind of, it still feels like it's making progress and it's introducing interesting things, and we're actually learning more about characters that we've known about for a long time, but who have more of a noteworthy presence in this one. So there's a little bit more world building going on, although in this case it's on the character side, because with One Piece there's also this world building that goes on behind the scenes of the things that are going on here, and it's not really that it's adjusting so much as adjusting is the wrong word. As the characters progress, One Piece is neat because not only do you learn about more characters and interesting things about them, but you're learning some more of this underlying massive series-wide concept, I guess. And the information for that sort of stuff comes in very small pieces, and I don't know. Right now it's kind of hard to tell what are what pieces that we're finding, but I think there's some relevant stuff maybe in here. But there's been relevant stuff in the previous season, I just not mentioned them. It's just strange. In a good way. So, we enjoyed it. I think if there had been more, ignoring the fact that we were watching till pretty late in the evening, which we sometimes do, I think we would have been wanting to see more if we had more. So, I thought it was pretty good. So, of course, I watched Saikano Parts 1 and 2, you know, because I have them both in my hand here, and it was actually pretty good. It had a couple of things where it had some iffiness. You know, this looks like a very harem-y anime sort of thing, and when that sort of stuff happens, it's not unusual for it to have things that are like, I can't tolerate this, and the anime didn't hammer those on. Those elements were there, but they weren't bad. 0th episode is probably a really good example. It's probably not a particularly great way to start the series, possibly, because it kind of gives you a sort of future view of how things are going to develop, but it's done in a way such that it's their excuse to have a lot of fan service. As in, the girls are naked in the very first scene, and then they're talking about Bakemonogatari, kind of. They don't exactly say it by name, but they talk about how fan service anime that begins with a long panty shot, the very first scene, literally, and I think that's Bakemonogatari, and they kind of reference that stuff, and it does some meta-referencing of the idea of how you do narrative and introduce characters and whatnot, except that they're doing it for us, the audience, but they're doing it not because for us, the audience. I know, that's a really weird way to say it, and the show kind of has some interesting stuff like that through it. Obviously, one of those things I really don't like is shows that think that girls intentionally causing pain to guys is funny, and this one's probably a really good example of why it kind of had the right boundary. Even if it had some stuff that kind of got close, it's like, she's the one who was the most violent, I guess. And that mostly was just her hitting him with the hair, and it seemed less painful and more for the comedic motion. Now, I didn't find it funny, but, you know, it didn't look like they were trying to make us laugh because, hey, the guy's hurt. It's more like because she's going through the motions of being a tsundere. She really is. She just wants to deny it, but that's what she's there for. You know, there's issues with most of the girls, like, obviously the cousin is, yeah, you just can't respect somebody who thinks they know better for somebody else and just disregards their feelings and, like, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to say it because that would be a spoiler for that one little moment in that episode, and I don't want you to know that, but she does have some narcissistic boundary issues, I guess is what I'm going to say. She's not totally narcissistic, but she's definitely very much along those lines, and she's not snobby in that way. She just thinks that other people's opinions are not the right thing and she's right, and, you know, it's a common thing we deal with and stuff. Her, she just has this really bad habit of putting the blame on the wrong person. Like, there's this one part where somebody basically asks a question, and she calls our main character immature for answering the question when it was a question that was meant to be a trap, and really it was the immature acting of the person who asked it. It's very much, it's not exactly along these lines, but it's very much along the same lines of the girl asking, does this dress make me look fat? And that's a trap. And it's a very immature way to communicate with people, because the entire point of asking that question isn't to try and get an honest opinion. It's to look for an excuse to start a fight, basically. You know, immature. And I'm sure there's going to be some girls out there who are right about it. They're asking it not to start a fight. Maybe they're referencing the concept, or maybe they actually want to know if a dress makes them look fat, and they don't really hold it against you for telling the truth if it does, or if it doesn't, it's like, oh, so I'm the one who's fat, or whatever. But basically, that's just a real good example, and she was kind of the instigator of that. I think she was okay. I think her presence was kind of... She was meant to be there just kind of as, I think, a soothing counterpart to some of these other characters. But she wasn't very there. It was one of those things where you see her here, and you see her in the intro, but you can kind of tell that she's not built up because she's not in that episode 0 I told you about. So you kind of wonder what that all means. And I don't want to talk too much about that because you'll probably watch it and you'll be curious too. But I thought it was neat. And I can't really talk too much more about that without spoiling it. And so then, you know, you got this girl. Because, you know, there were the 5 girls in there. Were there any others? Less, or any girls that were more side character-y than her. But no, she's kind of the main girl. And I think that's probably why the series works out. Behavior-wise, she's very close to emotionless girls, except she's not exactly emotionless, so she's kind of the inspiration for our main character, and she's kind of a presence there, and she doesn't sound too emotional in any way, but she doesn't sound unemotional. She sounds very much very tolerant, water rolling off her back, she doesn't care, or whatever. I think there's sayings related to that, but I'm not sure if I've got them right. And to a degree, I actually really like that because she doesn't let her emotions get the best of her, whereas, you know, they do. And she probably does, but not necessarily a bad way. And I guess you kind of got to mix, because the cousin, she wasn't one to really let her emotions get the better of her per se, so much as she just kind of felt entitled to push certain boundaries, I guess, just because she felt something there. So she wasn't very emotional while doing a lot of that. It's sort of like, there's a lot of anime where if the guy makes the girl really angry, she'll put him in some sort of wrestling hold that's supposed to suggest pain is being caused, I guess. But the cousin, she seems to do that when she gets frustrated, but more out of playfulness than like she's allowed to do that to get her anger out. So, you know, there's a lot of those elements in there that in many contexts in other series are all about just things I don't like, but this one treated them very fine. It didn't complete everything, though. It feels like it came to a sort of end, but not the end that I would want to see, and that would probably be why there's a second season about to start airing this year, if I'm not mistaken. So I'd definitely be interested in seeing that. This one, yeah, it was okay. And then I watched Seraph of the End. I guess this imagery kind of makes a little more sense now that I've watched it and I know what each of these characters are, who they are, what the purpose of them being where they are on the art on the boxes. I thought it was okay to good. It's very strange because it's kind of the sort of anime with payoff without a lot of proper build-up, sort of. Which kind of means that there's a lot of neat things that happen, but it makes it feel like either the show's being too convenient to our main character, or it's not quite focused on what it's supposed to be, I guess. Like, it felt comparable to shows where it's like, oh yeah, well, this is the training these people need to go to, except that the pacing was kind of weird in that it felt like that was just almost a handshake it was just doing to the audience as opposed to kind of an important point per se. And all of this doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or anything like that. It's just, you know, these are some of its weaknesses and some of the strangeness of watching it. I mean, I guess if I were to describe it, I was thinking of 2 other shows that I would use, not to describe this, but this combined with a certain other show would have described a 3rd show. Except, you know, like I said, the pacing is weird feeling, the direction is weird feeling. It doesn't even really end at a place where you feel like things are concluded, which is why there's more to it. I think there's another season that has either aired or is airing or something like that. I don't know. Strange stuff, of course. But overall, a neat watch. Narratively very strange. So, other than that, I'm not sure. I did put the first disc of When They Cry Kai in. I didn't watch it because this was pretty late last night, and I was trying to evaluate whether or not I should just go to bed and get an okay amount of sleep or not. It's really weird, you know, transitioning from the looking for a job to having the job thing. Obviously, my job started today or yesterday, and it's okay. At the moment, it is not very exciting, but that's par for the course joining company. And this one is a bigger exception than the previous ones I've joined because not only is it bigger, but they're doing some more important things that require more training, I guess. Basically, I have to learn about different things to be on the lookout for, even though my role at the company will probably mean that I won't be dealing with a lot of that stuff per se. But it's still one of those things where they need to make sure all the employees know about that stuff. Like there's a federal guidelines, regulations along those lines, and so I'll be doing some of this again in a couple of months, and then stuff will be just distributed, spread out quarterly, I think. So, yeah, actually the only real problem is just since the distance-wise I'm traveling further, obviously there's a little more commute time, but the only real issue there is just that people here are really dumb drivers. I get the impression, though, that it's not really limited to here. Austin has a reputation for being pretty bad driver-wise, but the way people talk about driving laws and rules, and especially the exceptions online, I'm not sure they actually have that different of a mindset. It could be a difference of degrees, but not really a difference of good driver versus bad driver. In other words, most drivers seem to be bad drivers, and some of them just seem to be really bad, should be shot and left on the side of the road drivers. You know, people who are so aggressive about getting where they are that they're actually actively putting other people's lives in danger because they just want to get home a little bit faster, and everybody else's safety be damned. And that's an unacceptable way to try and coexist with other people. Granted, shooting is probably a little extreme, but I could go on. But yeah, because other than that, I guess because yesterday was my first day at work, and because I did stay a couple hours later than maybe I probably should have, I wanted to reach a certain stopping point with the training material, and I was able to. You know, because other than that, I kind of came home tired, and I watched Seraph of the Endless. So like I mentioned that Seraph of the End, but there's Seraph of the Endless, which is a bunch of funny alternative versions of scenes that happened in the show, and if they had happened in a different, more comedic way. And so I did get that watched, and I went back and was rewatching certain episodes of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood because it's actually really damn good. And then I finally, as I was wrapping that stuff up, I did put this in the drive, but it was late enough that I needed to really start it up. And who knows what tonight's going to be like. Should be able to watch something, and I do plan to watch this. Because there are a couple of those dubbed shows that arrived this week, and they would have slightly higher priority if I didn't put this in there and say, yeah, it's for the best. I need to start watching the second season of When They Cry so I can start making progress in that series again. I don't know. It's all stuff. And then, of course, I've got to prioritize putting Zootopia and Rick and Morty Season 2 on my private streaming service so I can actually get to that content again. And I'll, I don't know. I feel like I'm trailing off. It's the start of a work week. So, y'all, have a nice week.